The security monitor flickered with frozen images that made Director Quinn's stomach turn cold. Frame by frame, the recording showed what happened in Corridor 7 exactly 43 minutes ago. A Valerian student stood over a human, his fist still raised. The human was on his knees. Quinn rewound the footage again. Dean Hart stood beside him, saying nothing. They had watched this 6 times already. Each viewing made things worse. Roy Fisher had been walking to his next class when Dreth cornered him. The cameras caught everything. Dreth blocking the corridor. Other students moving away, sensing trouble. Roy trying to step around the larger alien. Dreth moving to block him again. "Play it forward," Quinn said quietly. The footage continued. Dreth shoved Roy hard enough to slam him against the wall. Roy straightened up, hands open at his sides. He said something. The cameras had no audio in that section, but his body language was clear. He was trying to de-escalate. Dreth hit him. The punch came fast, aimed straight at Roy's face. What happened next took less than 2 seconds. Roy's head moved slightly. The punch missed by inches. His hand came up and caught Dreth's wrist. The Valorian's other hand swung around. Roy blocked it, twisted, and suddenly Dreth was airborne. The impact when Dreth hit the floor made Quinn wince even without sound. Roy stood over him, breathing hard, his whole body shaking. 3 seconds passed. 5. Roy stepped back, hands dropping to his sides. Security arrived 10 seconds later. "Freeze it there," Quinn said. The image stopped on Roy's face. His expression was not angry. It was horrified. He looked down at Dreth like he could not believe what his own hands had done. "The Valerian has 2 broken bones in his arm," Harth said. "Fractured orbital socket," severe concussion, and the human, bruising on his chest and arms. "Defensive wounds," the medical team said. Harth paused. "Director, the students are talking." This was not the first incident. Quinn turned from the screen. "Explain." "Dreth has been harassing Fisher for weeks, bumping into him, destroying his lab work, making threats. Fisher reported it 3 times to his faculty advisor, and Professor Trell told him to show cultural tolerance." Quinn closed his eyes. Cultural tolerance. As if being bullied required tolerance. "Give me Fisher's file. Complete record. Every incident report, every grade, everything." While Harth pulled up the records, Quinn watched the footage one more time. Roy had not thrown the first punch. He had not even thrown the second. He had defended himself, and his defense had put a Valerian warrior cast noble in the medical wing. The file appeared on the screen. Roy Fisher, age 19 Earth years, which translated to roughly 16 standard years. First-year student. Physics major with secondary focus on gravitational theory. Academic ranking in the top 2% of his class. 0 disciplinary issues before today, 0.3 formal complaints filed. All dismissed. "Where's he now?" Quinn asked. "Holding room 4. Not the security cells. We thought that might be premature." "Good." Quinn straightened his uniform. "I want a full medical examination. Independent doctor, not academy staff. Get someone from the Severian Medical Corps. Director, the Valerian ambassador, is demanding immediate expulsion and criminal charges. The Valerian ambassador can wait until I have all the facts." Quinn headed for the door, then stopped. "And send a priority message to the Earth Diplomatic Office. Tell them what happened. All of it. Sir, that might create an incident." "Dean Harth, we already have an incident. A student was attacked on our campus. Our only question now is whether we handle this with integrity or politics." Quinn walked through the academy halls toward the holding rooms. Students moved out of his way, whispering. News traveled fast in any school. By now, everyone knew a human had hospitalized a Valerian. The rumors would be wild. The truth was simpler and somehow worse. A young student had been harassed for weeks, reported it through proper channels, and been ignored. When finally attacked, he had defended himself. His crime was being stronger than anyone expected. Outside holding room 4, 2 security guards stood at attention. Quinn nodded to them and entered. Roy Fisher sat at a plain table, hands folded in front of him. He looked up when Quinn entered. His eyes were red. "Director," Roy said quietly. "Mr. Fisher." Quinn sat down across from him. "I have reviewed the security footage. All of it, including the incidents from the past 3 weeks. Roy said nothing. He looked down at his hands. I need you to tell me, in your own words, what happened today. I defended myself. Roy's voice was barely audible. He threw a punch. I reacted. I did not mean to hurt him that badly. You have training. Every human does. Basic self-defense. We learn it as children. Roy looked up. Director, I tried to avoid this. I reported the harassment. I followed the rules. I just wanted to study. The way his voice cracked on that last word made Quinn's decision easy. A medical examiner is coming to check your injuries. A doctor from outside the academy. You will cooperate fully. Quinn stood. Mr. Fisher, you're not being charged with anything at this time. This is an investigation, and you are a witness, not a criminal. What about Dreth? What about him? Is he going to be okay? Quinn studied the young human. He had just asked about the well-being of someone who had attacked him. He will recover fully, though I suspect his pride is injured worse than his body. Roy nodded slowly. I'm sorry this happened. So am I, Quinn said. So am I. He left Roy in the holding room and walked back to his office. His communicator was already buzzing with messages. The Valerian ambassador. The Board of Regents. 3 different news organizations. But the message he answered first was from Earth's diplomatic corps. Ambassador Patricia Wright was already on her way. Her response time was 30 minutes. Humans, Quinn was learning, moved very quickly when one of their children was threatened. He suspected the Academy was about to learn several other things about humans as well. None of them would be comfortable. Dr. Lena arrived within the hour, her medical kit already opened before she entered the holding room. The Severian doctor had a reputation for thoroughness that bordered on obsessive. Quinn had chosen her specifically for that reason. Mr. Fisher, she said, setting her equipment on the table. I'm going to examine you completely. This includes scanning for internal injuries, documenting all bruising, and recording your baseline physiology. Do you consent? Yes, Roy said. Lena worked in silence, her scanner moving over Roy's body in precise patterns. She paused at his chest, frowned, and re-scanned the area. Then his arms, then his legs. Her expression grew more concerned with each pass. Your bone density, she said finally, is extraordinary. Earth gravity, Roy explained. It is 3.2 times galactic standard. Our bones adapted. Lena made notes. And your muscle structure? Same reason. Everything on Earth is heavier. We are heavier. We have to be stronger just to move around. The scanner beeped. Lena examined the readings, then looked at Roy with something close to alarm. Your reaction time is 40% faster than the galactic average. Predators, Roy said simply. Earth has a lot of them. If you're slow, you die. Our whole species evolved to be fast. Show me your hands. Roy held them out. Lena measured his grip strength, then sat back. You could crush a Valorian's windpipe without effort. I know. Roy's voice was quiet. That is why I tried so hard to avoid fighting. I knew what would happen. Lena finished her examination and compiled her report. Multiple contusions on your chest and upper arms, all consistent with being struck and defending yourself. No offensive injuries. No damage to your knuckles or hands. You did not punch him. No, I just threw him. He was off balance. I used his momentum. Basic physics. Lena smiled slightly. Appropriate for a physics student. I will submit this report to Director Quinn immediately. After she left, Roy sat alone for another 20 minutes. Then the door opened again. This time, a human woman entered. She wore the formal attire of Earth's diplomatic corps, and her expression was controlled fury. Mr. Fisher, she said, I'm Ambassador Patricia Wright. I represent Earth's interests in this sector. Roy stood quickly. Ambassador, sit down. We need to talk. She pulled out a chair and sat across from him. First, are you injured? Bruises. Nothing serious. Good. Second, I have reviewed the security footage and your incident reports. You followed protocol exactly. You did everything right. She leaned forward, which means the Academy did everything wrong. I do not want anyone to get in trouble because of me. Too late. Wright's smile was sharp. They were in trouble the moment they ignored your first complaint. Now, here is what is going to happen. There will be a formal hearing. You will testify. You will tell the truth. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. The Valorians are demanding your expulsion and criminal charges. High Commander Dresh himself is coming here. He is Dreth's father. Roy's face went pale. Oh, do not worry. I eat High Commanders for breakfast. Right stood. One more thing. How badly could you have hurt that boy? Roy looked down at his hands. I could have killed him. Easily. I was trying very hard not to. That goes in my report. Wright headed for the door, then paused. Roy, you're not in trouble. You are the victim here. Remember that. After she left, Roy was moved to better quarters. Not his dorm room, but a small apartment in the faculty wing. Security stayed outside his door. For his protection, they said. He was not sure if he believed them. That night, he could not sleep. He kept seeing Dreth's face when he hit the floor. The sound of breaking bones. His own hands shaking that a message arrived on his tablet. It was from Professor Nira, his physics instructor. I heard what happened. I am sorry. You did not deserve this. When you are ready, your research project is waiting. We will continue your work. You belong here. Roy read it 3 times before the tears came. The next morning, the hearing was announced. Galactic Oversight Committee observers were already en route. The media had picked up the story. Headlines across a dozen systems screamed variations of the same theme. Human student hospitalizes Valerian noble. None of them mentioned that the human had been attacked first. None of them mentioned weeks of harassment. None of them mentioned that a student had begged for help and been ignored. Quinn read the headlines in his office and felt his career crumbling around him. 30 years in galactic education. A reputation for fairness and excellence. All of it about to be destroyed because his staff had failed one student. And oh, not destroyed. Deserved. Dean Harth entered without knocking. The Valerian delegation has arrived. High Commander Dresh is demanding an immediate meeting. Let him demand. We will meet when I am ready. Director, he has political connections that go straight to the Galactic Council. He could shut down this academy. Then perhaps we deserve to be shut down. Quinn stood. We took credits from human families. We accepted their children. We promised to educate them and keep them safe. We failed at both. If there are consequences, we earned them. Harth looked shocked. You are taking the human side. I am taking the side of truth. There are no sides here. There is only what happened and what we do about it. Quinn walked past Harth and headed for the conference room. The Valerian delegation waited there, High Commander Dresh at their center. He was tall, armored, every inch the warrior his culture prized. Beside him sat Ambassador Wright, looking tiny by comparison. She sipped coffee and smiled. Director Quinn, Dresh said coldly. We are here to discuss the unprovoked attack on my son. We are here to discuss the attack on my student, Quinn corrected. Whether it was provoked is a matter for the tribunal to decide. Not us. Dresh's eyes narrowed. You defend this human. I defend the truth. Your son struck first. The evidence is clear. My son is a Valerian warrior. That human is a Deathworld primitive. The very idea that he could injure my son is absurd. Ambassador Wright set down her coffee. High Commander, your son attacked someone from a world with 3 times your gravity, twice your oxygen levels, and predators that would eat your warriors for breakfast. The only absurd thing here is that you did not research what you were fighting. The room went very quiet. Dresh stared at her. Are you threatening me? No, I am educating you. Your son picked a fight with someone designed by evolution to survive conditions that would kill him in minutes. He lost. These are facts. Quinn watched the High Commander's face turn several interesting colors. This hearing was going to be memorable. Whether any of them survived it remained to be seen. The tribunal convened in the Academy's Grand Hall, a space designed to impress visiting dignitaries. Today it was packed with observers from 17 different species. Media drones hovered near the ceiling, recording everything. Roy sat at a small table with Ambassador right beside him. Across the room, Dreth sat with his father and a team of Valerian legal experts. The tribunal consisted of 5 members representing different galactic sectors. They looked grave as they reviewed the evidence packets. This hearing will determine responsibility for the incident in Corridor 7, announced Magistrate Kelvin, a Thurian with silver skin and 6 arms. We will hear testimony from all involved parties. Mr. Fisher, please approach. Roy stood. His legs felt unsteady as he walked to the witness platform. Every eye in the room followed him. State your name and status, Kelvin said. Roy Fisher, first-year student, physics major. Describe the events of the incident. Roy took a breath. I was walking to my advanced theory class. Dreth blocked the corridor. I tried to go around him. He blocked me again. Then he pushed me into the wall. And then, I told him I did not want trouble. He hit me. I defended myself. How did you defend yourself? I caught his wrist, blocked his second strike, used a basic throw. He hit the floor. Kelvin made notes. You say basic throw. You have training. Every human does. We learn self-defense as children. Murmurs spread through the hall. Several species looked shocked. Why do human children learn combat? Kelvin asked. Roy hesitated. Earth is dangerous. We have predators, natural disasters, high gravity. If you cannot defend yourself, you do not survive long. It is just part of growing up. Show us this basic throw. Ambassador Wright stood. I object. Asking the victim to demonstrate combat techniques is inappropriate and potentially traumatizing. Sustained. Kelvin turned back to Roy. You mentioned you did not want trouble. Had there been previous incidents? Yes. For 3 weeks. Describe them. Roy detailed every incident. Dreth destroying his lab work, shoving him in hallways, making threats in front of other students. His voice remained steady until he reached the part about reporting it. I filed complaints with Professor Trell. 3 times. He said I should be more tolerant of cultural differences. The room erupted. Several tribunal members looked at Director Quinn, who sat in the front row with his head bowed. Order, Kelvin commanded. We will hear from Professor Trell later. Mr. Fisher, one final question. When you threw Dreth, did you intend to cause serious injury? No. I was trying not to hurt him badly. If I had wanted to hurt him, I would have struck him instead. Throwing him seemed safer. Safer for whom? For him. Roy returned to his seat. Ambassador Wright squeezed his shoulder briefly. Next came the security footage. The tribunal watched in silence as the recording played. Dreth blocking Roy. The shove. The punch. Roy's response, so fast it was almost impossible to follow. Dreth hitting the floor, then older footage. 7 different incidents over 3 weeks. Each one showed Dreth harassing Roy. Each one showed Roy trying to avoid confrontation. Pause there, Kelvin said, freezing the image on Roy's face after the 4th incident. What is that expression? Fear, Ambassador Wright said quietly. That is a young student who knows he is in danger and does not know how to make it stop. Dr. Lena testified next. She presented her medical findings with clinical precision. Roy's bone density, his muscle structure, his reaction time, the defensive injuries on his body. In my professional opinion, she concluded, Mr. Fisher showed remarkable restraint. A typical human response to being struck in the face would have resulted in far worse injuries to his attacker. How much worse? Kelvin asked. Potentially fatal. The room went silent. I have asked Commander Lisa Hayes of Earth Defense Force to attend this hearing, Ambassador Wright said, standing. With the tribunal's permission, she will demonstrate basic human defensive techniques. Kelvin considered. Permission granted. Commander Hayes entered, a tall woman in military uniform. She moved to the center of the hall. I will demonstrate the throw Mr. Fisher used. I need a volunteer. No one moved. I will be gentle, Hayes said with a slight smile. Finally, one of the security officers stepped forward. Hayes explained the mechanics of the throw, moving slowly to show each step. When she actually performed it, the security officer hit the padded mat with a thud that made several observers flinch. This is what we teach 6-year-old humans, Hayes said. Basic self-defense. Mr. Fisher could have done far worse. He chose not to. She demonstrated 3 other techniques. By the 3rd, several tribunal members looked uncomfortable. Thank you, Commander, Kelvin said quickly. Dreth testified in the afternoon. He was still bandaged, his arm in a support brace. His father sat behind him, radiating cold fury. Mr. Dreth, Kelvin began. Did you strike Mr. Fisher? I was teaching him respect. Humans are primitives. They need to understand their place. That was not the question. Did you strike him? Dreth's jaw tightened. Yes. Had you researched human physiology before this confrontation? Silence. Answer the question. No. Why not? I did not think it mattered. He was smaller, weaker looking. How was I supposed to know? Ambassador Wright stood. You were supposed to know because this is an academy. Learning about other species is literally why we are all here. You chose ignorance. You chose violence. You chose wrong. High Commander Dresch surged to his feet. You dare speak to my son that way. I speak truth to bullies. Rank does not change facts. Magistrate Kelvin pounded his gavel. Order. High Commander, sit down or be removed. The hearing continued for 3 more hours. Professor Trell testified, admitting he had dismissed Roy's complaints. Director Quinn testified, accepting full responsibility for his staff's failures. Other students came forward, describing the hostile environment Deathworld students faced. By evening, the picture was clear. Roy Fisher had been failed by every system meant to protect him. When finally forced to protect himself, he had done so with minimal force. The tribunal adjourned to deliberate. Roy sat in the waiting room with Ambassador Wright. His hands shook slightly. How do you think it went? He asked. I think, Wright said carefully, that the truth came out. That is all we can ask for. What happens if they expel me? Then 16 other academies have already offered you full scholarships. You will be fine, Roy, no matter what happens here. He nodded, not trusting his voice. Outside, news drones broadcast the hearing to billions across the galaxy. Public opinion was shifting. The narrative of a violent human was crumbling. In its place rose something else, a story of institutional failure, of a student abandoned by those sworn to protect him, of courage in the face of injustice. The verdict would come tomorrow. The galaxy waited. The tribunal returned after 12 hours of deliberation. Roy not slept. He sat in the small apartment, watching the dawnlight creep across the academy grounds. Students were already gathering outside the Grand Hall. Word had spread fast. Ambassador Wright arrived at 7. She looked tired but determined. Whatever happens, she said, you did everything right. Remember that. They walked to the Grand Hall together. The crowd parted for them. Some students nodded at Roy. Others looked away. A few whispered. Inside, the hall was even more packed than yesterday. Every seat filled. Standing room only along the walls. The media drones had multiplied overnight. The tribunal entered. Magistrate Kelvin looked exhausted. We have reached our decision, he announced. The room fell silent. This case represents a failure at multiple levels. We will address each in turn. He looked directly at Roy. Mr. Roy Fisher, you are cleared of all charges. The evidence shows conclusively that you acted in self-defense after weeks of harassment. You showed remarkable restraint under circumstances that would have broken many beings. You filed proper reports and followed all protocols. The fault lies not with you. Roy felt his knees go weak. Ambassador Wright gripped his arm, keeping him upright. Kelvin turned to Dreth. Mr. Dreth, you are found guilty of assault and ongoing harassment. You are expelled from Galactic Ascendancy Academy effective immediately. You are banned from attending any galactic educational institution for 5 standard years. You will also face criminal charges in Galactic Court. High Commander Dresch stood. This is an outrage. Sit down, Commander, or I will hold you in contempt. Kelvin's voice was ice. Your son attacked a fellow student without provocation. He admitted to not researching the physiology of his target. He admitted his intent was to harm. These are facts. Dresch sat, his face dark with fury. Director Quinn, Kelvin continued, you are removed from your position effective immediately. Your failure to implement proper safety protocols for Deathworld students is inexcusable. You will not hold any administrative position in galactic education again. Quinn stood, nodded once, and sat back down. He looked almost relieved. Dean Harth, you were demoted to assistant professor. Your oversight of student safety was negligent. Professor Trell, you're suspended for 2 standard years without pay. You dismissed legitimate complaints from a student in danger. This is a betrayal of your duty as an educator. Kelvin looked across the entire hall. Finally, Galactic Ascendancy Academy is placed on probationary status for 3 years. You will implement the following reforms immediately. He read from a list. Mandatory species sensitivity training for all staff. Independent advocates for unusual physiology students. Zero tolerance harassment policy. Regular safety audits. Financial compensation for affected students. These reforms are not suggestions. They are requirements. If the Academy fails to comply, it will lose its galactic accreditation. The gavel fell. The verdict was final. Media drones swarmed immediately. Roy ducked his head as Ambassador Wright guided him out through a side exit. They made it back to the apartment before the reporters found them. "You are free," Wright said. "Completely cleared." Roy sat down heavily. "What happens now?" "Now you decide what you want to do. Transfer to another academy. Stay here. Take time off. The choice is yours." "I want to stay." Wright looked surprised. "Here? After everything?" Running away does not fix anything. They're implementing reforms. Real changes. If I leave, it sends a message that they won. I want to finish what I started. A slow smile spread across Wright's face. "You are braver than most people twice your age." "All right. I will make sure the Academy honors your decision." Over the next week, the galaxy reacted. 17 other academies immediately reviewed their own safety protocols. 3 discovered similar patterns of neglect toward Deathworld students. Investigations opened. Heads rolled that a coalition of species launched the Deathworlder Rights Initiative. Earth gained 3 seats on the Galactic Educational Council. Laws changed. Policies reformed. High Commander Dresch made one final appearance. He requested a private meeting with Ambassador Wright. Roy was not there, but Wright told him about it later. He apologized, she said, sounding surprised. Formally, said his son had dishonored their family. Said Valerian culture values strength, but also values admitting when you are wrong. "Is Dreth okay?" Roy asked. "He is home, working at a refugee center as part of his community service. His father says it is changing him." Roy nodded. He had written Dreth a letter, but never sent it. Some wounds needed time. Professor Nira became his new faculty advisor. Their first meeting was in her office, surrounded by physics equations scrawled on every available surface. "Your research proposal on gravity manipulation theory," she said, sliding a document across the desk. "It has been approved. Full funding. You can start immediately." "Thank you." "Do not thank me. Thank yourself. You earned this with your work, not because of what happened." She paused. "Though I must tell you something. I failed you. I knew Dreth was harassing you. I saw it. I should have spoken up. I did not. You testified at the hearing. Too late. I am sorry, Roy. Truly. You are here now. That matters." Classes resumed. Roy walked the corridors freely for the first time in months. Other students greeted him now. Some apologized for their silence. Others asked questions about Earth, about humans, about what it was like growing up on a death world that he formed a study group. 6 species, 3 from death worlds. They met twice a week to work on advanced physics problems. The conversations range from quantum mechanics to cultural differences to shared experiences of feeling out of place that a Kralix student named Grix became his closest friend. She was from a high-gravity mining world and understood the weight of being stronger than everyone expected. "Do you ever feel like you have to hide what you can do?" she asked one evening. "Every day," Roy admitted. "But I am learning that hiding does not help. Being honest about our differences, teaching others, that is what helps." "Did the hearing teach you that?" "No. The hearing taught me that the truth matters, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard." New students arrived. 3 more humans. Roy met with them their first week. "It will be different for you," he told them, "because of what happened. The Academy is safer now, but you still need to be careful. Know your own strength. Be patient with others. And if anyone harasses you, report it immediately. They will listen now." One of them, a girl named Sarah, asked, "Are you angry?" "About what happened?" Roy considered. "I was. But anger does not fix anything. Change does. And change is happening." He showed them around campus, introduced them to friendly professors, helped them understand the alien social dynamics that had confused him so much at first. 18 night, alone in his dorm, he sometimes still saw Dreth falling, heard the crack of breaking bones. But the nightmares were fading that he had survived. More than that, he had made things better for those who came after. That mattered more than anger. 6 months passed like water through fingers. Roy stood in the academy's main auditorium, adjusting his formal uniform. Outside, hundreds of students gathered for the first annual Deathworld Symposium. He had not expected to be the keynote speaker. Professor Nira checked his presentation one last time. "You are nervous." Terrified, Roy admitted. "Good. That means you care. They need to hear from you. Not about the incident. About what came after." The auditorium filled rapidly. Roy peeked through the backstage curtain. Students from 12 Deathworld species took seats in the front rows. Behind them, hundreds more, species he had never seen before. All here to learn, to share, to connect. The new director, a measured Threllian named Yuna, introduced him. She kept it brief. Everyone knew his story already. Roy walked onto the stage. The applause surprised him. It lasted nearly a minute. "Thank you," he said when it finally quieted. "6 months ago, I was just trying to survive my first year. Today, I stand here because institutions can change, because people can choose to do better, because one incident, as terrible as it was, became a catalyst for something larger." He talked about his research. His team had made breakthroughs in gravity manipulation theory, work that could revolutionize space travel. He showed equations, simulations, theoretical applications. But the real discovery, he said, was not in physics. It was in learning that our differences make us stronger. "My team includes 6 species, 3 from death worlds, 3 from standard worlds. We approach problems differently. We see solutions others miss. That diversity is our advantage." After his presentation, the symposium broke into smaller sessions. Roy attended one on cross-species collaboration. A Kralix engineer described adapting mining equipment for multi-gravity environments. A Tornian biologist explained pressure-resistant tissue research. During the break, a young student approached him. She was human, barely 17. "Mr. Fisher, I am Annie. I start here next semester. I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For making this place safer. My parents almost did not let me come. Then they heard about the reforms, about you staying. They said if you were brave enough to stay, I could be brave enough to try." Roy felt his throat tighten. "You will do great here. If you ever need help, find me." She smiled and hurried back to her friends. That evening, there was a reception. Roy found himself surrounded by students asking questions. Not about the attack, about Earth, about human culture, about what it was like growing up under heavy gravity. Grix rescued him after an hour, pulling him toward the quieter gardens outside. "You are popular now," she teased. "I hate it, liar. You love helping them." He laughed. "Maybe a little." They sat on a bench overlooking the academy grounds. Lights twinkled in buildings across campus. Students walked in groups, talking, laughing. "It really is different now," Grix said quietly. "I reported harassment last week. A Relian student making comments about my appearance. The response was immediate. Professor came personally. Apology within hours. The student was warned that one more incident means expulsion. I am glad. It should have always been this way. Yes, but it was not. Now it is. That is progress." A message alert chimed on Roy's tablet. He glanced at it, then froze. "What is wrong?" Grix asked. "Nothing. I just got an invitation to present my research at the Galactic Science Conference. That is the biggest academic event of the year." "Of course you did. Your work is brilliant." Roy stared at the invitation. 6 months ago, he had been fighting just to feel safe walking to class. Now he was being recognized across the galaxy. The next week brought more changes. The Academy officially opened its Office of Species Advocacy, an independent organization run by students for students. Roy was asked to serve on the advisory board. He accepted. Their first case involved a Severian student being excluded from study groups, not through malice, but through thoughtlessness. Other students kept scheduling meetings during her meditation period, a biological necessity for her species. Roy sat in on the mediation. Watched the student advocates explain why this mattered. saw the other students' faces change from defensive to understanding. "We did not know," one of them said. "We should have asked." "Now you know," the advocate replied gently. "Now you could do better." Simple, direct, effective. Progress was not always dramatic. Sometimes it was just students learning to ask questions instead of making assumptions. Roy's research team expanded. They published their first paper on gravitational field manipulation. The response from a scientific community was enthusiastic. Funding increased. Equipment upgraded. Their tiny lab became a proper research facility. During one late-night work session, his teammate Pell asked the question others had been avoiding. "Do you ever think about Dreth?" Roy set down his stylus. "Sometimes." "Do you hate him?" "No. I'm angry about what he did. But hate takes too much energy. I would rather spend that energy building something better." Pell nodded slowly. "That is very human of you." "What do you mean?" "Other species hold grudges for generations. Humans seem to forgive and move forward. It is strange, but also admirable." Roy had never thought of it that way. Maybe it was a human trait. Maybe it was just him. Either way, holding on to anger had never appealed to him. The semester ended with Roy in the top 1% of his class. Offers came from research institutions across the galaxy. He politely declined them all. He still had 2 more years at the academy. He intended to finish. On the last day before break, Professor Nira called him to her office. "I have something for you," she said, handing him a data chip. "Letters. From students. Other Deathworlders who heard your story. Who decided to apply to academies because of you. There are over 300 of them." Roy held the chip carefully. 300. You changed more than just this academy, Roy. You change how the galaxy thinks about Deathworlders. About safety. About institutional responsibility. That is your real legacy. He went home to Earth for the break. His family met him at the spaceport, and his younger sister tackled him in a hug that would have broken a Valorian's ribs. "You are famous," she said. "Everyone in my school knows about you." "Great," he muttered, but he smiled, because fame was not the point. Change was. And change was happening slowly, steadily, across the galaxy. One student at a time. One policy at a time. One heart at a time. That was enough. 2 years later, Roy stood at the edge of graduation. The ceremony was tomorrow. Tonight, he walked the academy grounds one final time as a student. The campus had changed. Deathworlder students now made up nearly 10% of the population. New facilities accommodated different gravity needs. Meditation spaces, dietary options, cultural centers. The reforms had become reality. He passed the memorial garden. Someone had planted it during his second year. A quiet space dedicated to learning from mistakes. A plaque read, "We remember not to repeat. We honor by doing better." Roy sat on a bench there, watching the sunset. Earth's sun was different, but any sunset reminded him of home. "I thought I would find you here." He turned. Grix stood behind him, her graduation robes already pressed and ready. "Just thinking," he said, "about what comes next, about what came before." She sat beside him. "You never told me the full story. About the day you decided to stay instead of transfer." Roy considered. "It was not dramatic. I just realized that leaving would mean everything that happened to me was for nothing. Staying meant it could mean something. It meant everything," Grix said quietly. "You know, the Galactic Council passed the Deathworlder Protection Act last month? That is because of you. It is because people chose to change. You gave them a reason to choose." They sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell. Other students passed by, heading to pre-graduation celebrations. Several waved. Roy waved back, his tablet chimed. Another message. He had received dozens today. Former classmates, professors, researchers he had worked with, all congratulating him on graduation and his upcoming position at the Galactic Research Institute. One message stood out. No sender name. He opened it carefully. "Mr. Fisher, this is Dreth. I know you never responded to my letters. I understand why. I wanted you to know that I completed my service. I am enrolling in community college to study social work. My goal is to work with at-risk youth. I know I cannot undo what I did, but I could try to prevent others from making my mistakes. I hope you are well. You deserve better than what I gave you. Thank you for not destroying me when you could have. Roy read it twice. Then he wrote back. Just 3 words. Good luck, Dreth. He hit send before he could reconsider. Grix noticed his expression. Everything okay? Yes, everything is okay. The graduation ceremony was held in the Grand Hall, the same place the tribunal had convened. Roy found that fitting. The room had witnessed his lowest moment. Now, it would witness his triumph. Director Yuna gave the opening address. She spoke about growth, change, and courage. Halfway through, Roy realized she was talking about his class specifically. You are the generation that demanded better, she said, that refused to accept injustice as tradition. You leave this academy better than you found it. That is the highest achievement any student can claim. Names were called. Students crossed the stage. When Roy's name was announced, the applause lasted longer than usual. He accepted his degree, shook Director Yuna's hand, and walked off the stage feeling lighter than he had in years. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Roy found himself surrounded again, but this time it felt different. These were friends, colleagues, people who knew him as more than the human who fought back. Professor Nira found him near the refreshment table. I have something for you. She handed him a small box. Inside was a research award, the Galactic Innovation Prize for his work on gravity manipulation. The committee voted yesterday. You are the youngest recipient in 200 years. Roy stared at the award. I do not know what to say. Say you will keep pushing boundaries. Keep asking difficult questions. Keep making us all better. I can do that. His family arrived from Earth that evening. His parents, his sister, even his grandparents made the trip. They took over an entire restaurant near campus, celebrating with food from home. We are so proud of you, his mother said, hugging him tight. I just graduated. Lots of people do that. You did more than graduate. His father's voice was gruff with emotion. You changed how a galaxy sees us. That matters. Late that night, Roy walked to his dorm room one last time. Most of his belongings were already packed. He would leave tomorrow for his position at the Research Institute. A new chapter beginning. He found a package on his bed. No return address. Inside was a Valerian honor blade, ceremonial and beautiful. The note was brief. With respect and apology. May your path be honorable. High Commander Dresh, Roy held the blade carefully. It represented forgiveness, growth, change. He would keep it not as a trophy, but as a reminder that people could choose to be better to knock on the door. Grix stood there with 2 cups of Earth coffee. Thought you might need this. Big day tomorrow. Big day today. I graduated. We both did. So now what? Roy accepted the coffee. Now we go be brilliant scientists. Change the galaxy. Make discoveries that matter. That's simple. That's simple. They sat on the floor, drinking coffee, talking about the future. Research projects. Distant stars. Questions waiting to be answered. The conversation felt easy, natural, full of possibility. As dawn approached, Grix stood to leave. Roy, thank you. For what? For showing me that being different is not a weakness. For proving that standing up matters. For being brave when it counted. You would have done the same. Maybe. But you did it first. After she left, Roy stood at his window. The academy grounds stretched below, quiet in the early morning. Students would wake soon. Classes would continue. Life would go on. Somewhere in the galaxy, a young Deathworlder was deciding whether to apply to an academy, whether to take the risk, whether to believe they could belong. Roy hoped they would choose courage. Hoped they would choose to try. Because the galaxy was better when everyone had a chance to shine. That he had learned that lesson the hard way. But he had learned it, and that made all the difference. His tablet showed one final message. Ambassador Wright. Congratulations, Roy. Earth is proud. The galaxy is better for having you. Now, I'll go make more trouble. The good kind. He smiled, picked up his bag, and walked out of his dorm room toward whatever came next. Behind him, the academy continued its work. Students learned. Policies protected. Changes held. All because one student had refused to accept injustice. All because courage had mattered more than fear. All because the truth, however painful, was always worth fighting for. The future was waiting. Roy went to meet it.